welcome to the channel. My name is Iron83 or DJ. Today I'm going to be talking about the Sportster itself. So just basic why I got the Sportster versus other motorcycles, why it applies to me. So I'm going to go over things. Like customization. I'm going to go over price point. I'm going to go over my size because obviously I'm a shorter guy and so I need, smaller bike. I wouldn't be fitting on a road glide. And then I'm just going to go over my opinions of it and if it would fit you. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so first thing I'm going to hit on is size, right? So Sportster, everybody says it's the little bike, it's the baby bike, right? It is the smallest framed Harley Davidson you can get, aside from maybe, talk about like your Street 500, your Street 750, things like that. But essentially for your standard, entry-level bikes, this is going to be your smaller frame bike. This right here, like my seat height is only 25 inches when I got it, and that was before I slammed the shocks a little bit more, so I'm probably sitting at like 23, 24 inches off the ground. And me, I'm a smaller guy. I'm only 5'5", about $140 on a good day. So for me, perfect placement, right? Me, I rode Dynas, I've rode street glides, things like that, and riding something like that, it's way too big, right? And I'm not new to motorcycling, right? This is my second bike I've ever had. And for me, it was just, I needed that smaller frame bike. So like that small, medium frame bike, something like street glide, something like even a lot of like the street bikes. I love, really all bikes. A lot of those street bikes, you got Gixxers, your R series from Yamaha, things like that. They're just too tall for me. That seat height is about 30 inches and my inseam itself is I'm sitting at like 29, 30 inches. So I will not get on a bike if I cannot comfortably flat foot it. And for those bikes, they're just simply too tall. And so getting a bike and then having to get it lowered, that was just an expense that just didn't really jive. And that's another thing that goes into size is going to be that weight. So that weight, this thing right here, I'm sitting at, I believe, stock these things around 570 pounds, which, for a lot of the street bike riders, putting comparatively speaking, right, like it's on the heavy side, right? But when you compare it to Harleys, I believe the Street Glide is 850 pounds stock. And this, I've added a little bit of parts to it, so it's probably sitting at a good like 580. But at the same time, with that low seat height, got a fairly low center of gravity, comparatively speaking. It's, that weight is pretty perfect for me rather than something that's a lot bigger. Any of those baggers are going to weigh, anywhere from 700 to 900 pounds. And that's just too much bike, especially for me being only about $140. So now I'm going to go over my next topic of discussion. It's just going to be price point. So I picked up this 2011 Iron 883, and I picked it up for less than $4,000. And I, realistically speaking, I don't know any Harley that you can say besides that you could pick up comfortably for less than $5,000. So a lot of the Dynas you see on, Facebook Marketplace, you see on OfferUp, anything like that, you go, they're $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, especially out here in Southern California. So I found this on OfferUp. The guy wanted $4,200 or best offer, and I went out there and offered him $39,000. He took it, right? These bikes right here, they're that entry level bike, and so everything for them when it comes to price for the parts, comes to any kind of repairs, anything like that, modifications, everything's gonna be cheaper. Like these bars, I think I spent less than $200 on this set of bars, and then that fairing right there is, I'll break down my parts later on, but that right there I only paid about $130 for, I think, shipped. And so when it comes down to that price point, like, money talks, and with this you definitely get your money's worth out of it. And with that's why I like endlessly recommend the secondhand market. You go to any Harley dealership and you go grab a new, you grab a new Road King, you grab a new Road Glide, Street Glide, the new like Softails, anything like that. And some of those things are a freaking house payment, like they're up there, they're, what the price is of a car. And with this, all money put together, I've probably spent maybe $5,500 total setting this thing up how I want. Now, I'm by no means done, but the affordability is just unparalleled. All right, and then next, I'm just going to get into a little bit of like the history of the Sportster and why that kind of drove me to get a Sportster. So Sportster, the frame itself, the actual model of the Sportster, has been around since 1957, right? And that's not only the longest running Harley Davidson model, but that is one of the longest running bikes in all of motorcycling, right? Name another bike that's been around since the 50s, and I guarantee you can't, right? It's, the history behind it. It's the origin of, Harley's modern racing scene. They started with Sportsters. The Sportster was designed to be this light, fast motorcycle. And at the time of its release, it really was a beast of a bike. Even Evel Knievel rode a Sportster. Granted, he rode an XR750, definitely a different model than, say, like this, Iron 883. But the Sportster has its history made. Now I'm going to talk about one of my favorite parts. It's going to be the customization. So with the Sportster, I mean, you can go online and just look up Sportster XYZ, right? So you can look up Sportster dirt bike, you can look up Sportster enduro, you can look up bobber, chopper, anything like that. People have taken these bikes and turned them into a million different things. Really, the only limit of it is your imagination. The Sportster, again, it's been around since the 50s, and so you can find parts to make it just about anything that you want, right? Like this is, it's an endless bike, right? Endless amounts of potential. And the only limit of it is your imagination and what you can do with it. There's a saying I heard forever and a day ago, it was like right when I picked it up, that the rarest bike that you can ever find on the market is a stock Sportster, because everybody takes these and they put their own little touch on them. All right, and my opinions of the Sportster, what I think of it personally as, a rider of a Sportster. All jokes aside, I really think it's one of the best bikes that you can get on the market. Whether that's the, first hand, whether you are buying it new straight off the lot, or whether you're buying it, I bought mine with 9,500 miles on it, right? It is one of the best motorcycles that you can get, all jokes aside. It's definitely not the fastest, right? Definitely not the lightest, definitely not the best handling, but hands down, it is one of the most fun motorcycles that you can ever throw a leg over. All right, and then it comes to the age-old question: is the Sportster for me? Coming from, an outside rider, and with that, it's all completely, subjective. It's if you are, 6 foot tall, 200 pounds plus, something like that, Sportster's probably not up your alley, right? The frame is just too small for you at that point. At that point, you'd probably be looking at more like Softails. You'd be looking more maybe the Dyna, something like that. But if you're roughly my height, if you're, I would argue, like 5'10" and below, the Sportster is perfect. If you are brand new at riding, if you're experienced at riding and you want a bike that you can just mod out and do whatever it is that you want to do with it, the Sportster is a perfect option. There's really no better option on the market. You can turn these things into literally whatever you want to. All right, so that wraps up my video today. If you're new to the channel, much like I am, because this is my first video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any recommendations on what you want to see me do, go over with this bike, more than happy. Put it down in the comments and I'll get back to you. Next video should probably be, a little walk around of the bike, see what I've done to it, see what mods I've put into it, and then what my experience is with those mods and see if they're right for you. But that's all I've got for today.